what do you think the biggest disconnect between someone who is successful in this business and someone who is not is?
I think it's a combination of consistency and processes. I think it's a combination of those two things, and I'll elaborate a little bit. People who are successful have a process down for what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They understand their marketing plan. They have a plan and they follow it and they're consistent with it. They're not all over the place posting one social media post a month and wondering why you're getting no traction there, or sending out one postcard to a neighborhood. People that have a plan and they consistently follow it regardless if they get an immediate satisfaction from it. They understand that they have to play the long game. Those are the people who are successful.
David Kurz looking clean with his whole sales team. We ain't come to talk nonsense. It's all about the process and profits until we make $1 billion from deposits. He never slacked and teach him to take action. So far from whack and never gave up his passion. Can't catch him lacking, dapper down on his fashion. He forever stacking, running up all the cash. Real estate mastermind. Check out his book, he gave us the blueprint. Really can't hate the grind. Put in the work, no making excuses. Quitting's a waste of time. You made it this far, don't make your life useless. Pour up and taste the wine. He got the flavor, mixing the juices.
All right, everyone, how you doing today? Welcome back. My name is Coach David Adam Kurz, and this podcast is called the Freedom Achiever Podcast. This is where we bring what I consider to be top individuals to the table, freedom achievers, bringing their knowledge, their personal input, their views on the world, on business, on entrepreneurship, and everything else to the table so that you can pull away from it either A, entertained, or B, extra knowledgeable, right? And so either way, however we hit it, if we've impacted your life in some sort of way, hit the subscribe button. That's what I need you guys to do. So if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you're listening to this on any streaming podcast network, hit the subscribe button so you can hear the next time we bring amazing folks to the table. And as we're speaking about amazing folks, I have Ted Bogert with me. Ted is an amazing lender, an extraordinaire out of Orlando, Florida, lends in, I think all 50 states. We've known each other for quite some time. I'm so excited. I've been on his podcast several times. I'm so excited to now have you here with the Freedom Achiever podcast, man. Thank you for doing this, Ted.
Man, I'm excited. It's so different to be a guest on a podcast instead of doing the interview. I'm sitting there looking at you, talking and stressing for you. I'm like, oh my God, he's got to remember all that stuff. I don't have to remember anything. It's so nice. I'm honored to be on here, my friend.
You do a lot of podcasts. Shout out your podcast because people should follow your podcast.
My podcast is at The TED Show. You can find that on all social media platforms. I use StreamYard just like you do. I think it's fantastic. We're in our 8th, it'll be 7 years in August, about 1,700 episodes, all about the journey. And I'd love for them to check it out.
That's awesome, man. If you guys are listening, it's the TED Show. You know, you got to jump on there and listen. I've been on a couple of times. I know you bring on some really great industry professionals to really talk about the business. You know, we're both in the real estate realm. You know, you're in the lending side of the realm. I'm on the realtor side of the realm. I've had some really recent guests on the show, and we've been talking about some extra progressive stuff. And one of the things that you might be following, I don't know if you are or aren't, but I just had Justin Haber on from Compass in New York. He does New York and Florida, and he's the co-founder of AREA, which is the American Real Estate Association that is coming up now to compete against NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors, after NAR dominating for 100 plus years.
Yes.
Have you been following the story?
I have been following the story. You know, it's interesting. I think we should all be following the story. I think that there are going to be a lot of alternatives out there, and I'm glad that I have to watch that because I think what AREA is doing is really cool. I think it's time for us to take a look at what NAR does for us and the advocacy and the money that we all pay in. Even as an affiliate, I pay money in. I think it's super important for us to really evaluate it and figure out where we want to be because the real estate market's changing. I'm not an abandoned ship kind of guy. I kind of like to see things. I'd like to be the last guy on the Titanic and make sure it's really going down. But it's good to have options, and it's good to have people that are building options.
it's interesting because he kind of said that. He said you don't have to jump ship. He goes, there is no reason why you can't be a part of two associations and have the benefits of both. And he was really quick to say this is not to destroy NAR.
Correct.
Like he wanted to make that clear. He said what we wanted to do, or what they wanted to do, was bring an option to the table, right? So that they can now petition, where when you join a local MLS, instead of forcing you to join without your knowledge or know-how, there now is a checkbox that says, I want to join NAR, or I want to join area, or I want to join both, or I don't feel like joining a national association.
Right. How do you feel like, I'm interested, it's not my interview show, but I want to ask you, how do you feel about that? Do you think that eventually people are going to want to opt out? I mean, I'm getting a lot of sense. The problem with the media, of course, in general, no matter what side of the fence you're on, is that it's a lot of propaganda. So it's very hard to maneuver. Most people have a hard time maneuvering through the minutia and finding the truth and the nuggets. So what is your feeling on that? I'm curious from a experienced realtor perspective.
I'm really excited about the change. I think it's been long needed, and now was the right time to make it happen. Like for it's been needed for a long time. Look, the National Association of Realtors, I won't speak negatively or positively about them. I'm going to be as neutral as possible. And I'm going to say that, it's one of the only associations, professional associations in the entire nation that is mandatory to join, which is odd, right? You should have an option, right? Like even the American Attorneys Association, only 20% of attorneys are involved. But for us, it's 99.2% of realtors are a part of this, right? And it's because you have no other option. When you join your association, you have no option. And so here's a company who sold Realtor.com to a marketing firm so that they can third-party market our listings. Here's a company who said okay to syndicating to marketing companies so that we can't even control our listings. We put them out, and then they automatically get syndicated to Zillows and realtors and all this other stuff, right? Here's a company who trademarked the word realtor, and if you're not a part of them, then you're not a realtor.
Correct.
Right? And then take that away. Here's a company who failed us in court recently. And so I think my biggest issue most recently is that when NAR failed and lost a $1.8 billion lawsuit, and the attorney went on news stations all over the country talking about NAR and saying that the real estate agents are a mafia. That's what he was saying. He said real estate agents are a mafia. They force you into paying 8-9% commissions. And so the people that don't know better, they hear that and go, oh my God, I can't believe this. Yeah, I got taken by my realtor who charged me 5 or 6%, and he doesn't talk about any of the benefits of paying a buyer's agent or anything, because it's not his story. And so I kind of waited. What is NAR going to come out with? What propaganda, with all the money that they have and all the money that we give them? Over 2 million real estate agents pay $160 a year, right? So you do the math on that.
Right.
The surplus for marketing is enormous. Plus, we just got hit with an added fee of $40 for the year for marketing, right? And so when was the last time you saw a NAR commercial, or heard it on the radio, or And so what happened? What marketing department sat down with them and said, okay, guys, this is what we got to do. We got to reshape the image of the real estate professional. We owe it to our real estate agents to reshape the message. And their job was to change that narrative. Their job was to get on, do commercials, do radio, do any interviews, get on as many news stations as you can. You have the attention of the news. And educate the agents how to change the narrative and how to explain what's going on to the community, to the people, to the consumer. And they didn't do that.
I wonder why.
So we're still
there. Why
poor leadership. It's poor leadership. That's why we just had the last president of NAR step down just the other day on January 8th.
But it
And
shouldn't
so,
like there's all of these realtors, all of these people who are pouring into the real estate industry who are members of NAR because they have to be, or affiliates like me because I joined and want to do business with realtors. But you would think that they'd want to take the bull by the horns and be proactive. And the education part you just brought up is so brilliant. You're right. Why aren't they educating us on how to handle all of the questions that are coming in and what to tell the consumer to expect? And all of that is not being done, or at least I'm not seeing it. And it's such a
right.
huge misstep on their part and a missed opportunity.
I'm lucky enough to have a Robert Palmer,
Yeah.
right? And so when this all went down, Robert Palmer had a Monday morning Zoom. And to the thousands of agents that were on that Zoom, he explained what was happening, what could happen, how we should represent ourselves moving forward, the story of the truth that we can explain to consumers when they ask, how to get past the objection of, I don't want to pay the buyer's agent, right? Like, he took the time and explained it to us. And so the people that were on that Zoom are significantly more powerful in their conversation than the rest of the community. But here's the problem. Not everyone has a Robert Palmer, right? With that much experience, with that much, connection, with that much understanding, with that much knowledge of the industry. Many brokers have been in the industry for like 3 or 4 years, and all they know is the next house that sells in front of them.
Correct.
And they don't have enough knowledge to truly bring attention to their brokerage and help them understand what is happening in the community today.
Agreed.
And so
him taking, if you have leadership also, like, so you can't rely on NAR obviously to do that. They're always, I feel like they're always behind the 8 ball. I don't know why, because they do have the resources like you talked about. It's like their technology to catch up and all sorts of things. It's a catch-up game. But if you have an owner like Robert who's educating you all and knows that you need those tools, that's where it's powerful. And you're right. You all have more knowledge, anybody who was on that call, and you can go forth and have an actual real communication with a powerful, impactful communication with your buyers and your sellers and the community. Whereas agents who have not had that opportunity are just sitting there going, the sky is falling, it's Chicken Little, everything's going to be bad. Oh my God, what am I going to do with commission? Maybe I need to get out of the business.
I'm getting out of the industry.
Yes. All these masterminds that I'm part of on Facebook groups and things like that. It's the sky is falling. Oh my God, what are we going to do? I'm like, okay, you obviously haven't been educated because NAR's not doing it. And so we need to have more open conversations with your broker and your teams.
I think, and unfortunately, you hit the head, or you hit the nail on the head right there. You said, I'm fortunate to have good leadership, good mentorship, right? But shouldn't NAR be responsible for a lot of this, right? Shouldn't a message be strongly pushed out to the real estate professionals from the president of NAR, from the director of education, from whomever, right? And that's why they've been through 3 presidents since this has all started, right? Now they're on their 4th, I think, And again, you said it, you have good leadership, you have good mentorship, and we should have that at NAR. And that's the problem. We have a leadership issue. And unfortunately, when someone new steps in, it takes time for you to see the fruit of the labor that they're putting in. So they're going to be absorbing all the bad stuff that's happening, right? It's like what with Disney, Disney's been through some stuff over the last few years, and so the president steps down because of the direction Disney's going. Then Disney realizes, oh my God, maybe this is not the best direction. Our stock is down, our attendance is down, we're losing money. We don't, the governor hates us. Like, here we go. And then they bring him back. Problem is, every show, every movie, every action is already in the books for like the next 3 years. Right. So we won't see anything new from Disney happen for 4 years from this particular president of Disney. And so that's equivalent anywhere that you go. And so unfortunately, this new guy that's taking the place at NAR, he's got a tough road ahead of him.
Yeah, he does.
It really does.
He has a lot. And I think, but look, you brought up the $40 additional marketing something on the dues.
Where's
So how many agents? 2 million. So why aren't we working on an educational / marketing type of plan? And that's easy to get out ahead of. I mean, I know they have a lot of attorneys, but the problem is it's a meeting to have a meeting to have a committee to have a meeting to have a subcommittee, and instead of just a quick action, let's get this. Can I swear on this? Let's get this crap out of there. Let's get it out so that at least we are showing that we are ahead of the narrative. We're creating it instead of following it, and I think that's
a very fast thing you can do. By the way, that doesn't take 3 years to put into effect. And so I just did the math. I did it in my head, but I wanted to show it on camera, right? So extra $40 from 2 million agents is $80 million. Yeah. Do you know, like, I don't know. I feel like reaching out to them and saying, hey guys, if you want, I'll take over the marketing department. Right. You know what I mean? Just give me 6 months. Give me 6 months and that budget. Give me the $80 million, you know, and watch how we change the narrative of the people. Watch how we make the people feel who we are, the work that we put in, the efforts that we create, the actual job that we do, which is not selling you a home. It's giving you the opportunity of home ownership.
Correct. Amen. I'm with you.
Big difference.
I think we need to be more, our state associations need to put some more pressure. I think there's a lot, because NAR is this giant, big, huge organization that then has all of these little tentacles out there. And when you're relying on a local one or even smaller to try to put out stuff, they can't legally because the mom and dad or NAR won't allow them. There's a lot of things that they're not allowed to do. And so, but as realtor members, I just encourage everybody to be more vocal about it and begin to put pressure. We go to this, our particular state one is always in August. We go to the Florida Realtors Convention. The Florida Realtors Convention, I think this year, if it is not a lot of education and a lot of discussion at all of those meetings that you all have for a whole week up here in Orlando, isn't about what's going on and giving tools and mentorship and ideas and resources on how to handle it and talk about it, then they've missed the boat as well.
Yep. I'm excited for the changes. I'm curious to see what happens. You know, at the same time, they are in the process of developing a national LS, so a national listing service. Yes. So instead of the MLS, which is a multiple listing service, they're in the process of implementing a national listing service, which would give real estate agents, because their mythology is, yes, you're licensed in, let's say, Florida, and that's where you can do business, but it shouldn't preclude you from being able to access information in Georgia or California. And not necessarily that you're going to sell there, but if you can access the information, you can be better equipped to educate your clients who might be moving from Florida to California, right? And or Texas or New York or whatever the case is. And he said, but it gets more dynamic than that. That's like the extreme, right? He said, there are agents in Miami, Florida, and this is true. There are agents in Miami, Florida that pay, $800-900 a year to be a part of a local association, plus NAR, plus FR, plus, right? And we can't access properties in Orlando.
I know.
Right? Well, how does that even, I'm licensed to sell in Orlando. Why are you precluding me from seeing properties in Orlando? Oh, because we want you to pay us more. Yeah. So if I call Orlando and I say, hey, I want to be a part of your association, well, now I got to be a member of two. So I got to pay $800 here. And I don't know how much Orlando is, but I'm going to probably assume it's not that far of difference in a price. It's both metropolitan cities. But then let's say somebody says, hey, Dave, I want to move to Cape Coral. Can you help me out? Well, shit, I only have South Florida and Orlando. Now I need to become a member of Cape Coral, right? Because again, I'm licensed in the whole state.
Correct. It's a challenge, right? Think about it. We even have, like, in my area, we've got Aura, and then we've got Oscar, which is one county over, which is Osceola. So, and then in Volusia, there's Volusia County up northeast. There's a couple right in the same area. Like, there's like 2 or 3. And so if you're a realtor and you live in that particular county or that particular area, if you want to do business in the county, sometimes it's 2 or 3 that you have to belong to. And so I understand the point and the frustration for sure.
I think every association in the state should offer listing services throughout the entire state.
I like that.
And why somebody joins your association should be 100% based on what you offer and bring to the table.
Correct.
How you defend your agents, what you do for them, what type of education you provide, et cetera, et cetera. I'll be honest with you. I'm a little bit against the associations offering a ton of education. I personally, I think that's the broker's job. And because I believe that's the broker's job, if the association didn't offer as much education as they did, and brokers wouldn't be able to sustain without that education, there would be less brokers. So we'd actually have less companies. I think in South Florida alone, there's over 2,000 brokerages, right? Wow. And so imagine if we could dwindle that down, it would give the brokers and the brokerages with the most value an extra opportunity to absorb the remaining agents, and the brokerages with the most value and the most education opportunity and the most knowledge will do better for those agents. And then those agents will step up to the plate more. And so if everybody has this equal opportunity of solid value and education, then the ones who fall off on their own because everything was there for them.
And then you'll have the realtors, I like that idea. I mean, I think realtors and then brokers will say, well, if I'm not getting education from the association, what the heck am I paying my dues for again? And so there's that catch-22, because the associations obviously need to bring added value to justify the dues that people pay.
In today's day and age, they could do that through technology. I mean, I'm a part of the Miami Association. I can show you the dashboard. There's like 70 different things in there that they offer. I use 3 of them because I'm like, it's so much, but there's value there. There's other agents that use more stuff and do more things and, have that kind of opportunity,
I don't know about the Miami Association, but I know Orlando. One of the biggest challenges, I think, for the association is that people don't know what there is offered. So if you do have those classes, for example, I mean, if we have 21 or 22,000 agents at Aura. And I would say if you're lucky to get 50 at a class, maybe 50 at an event. And when they have their elections for the board, you're lucky to get, I don't know, 1,000 people maybe that want to vote out of the 22,000. And so there's a lack. I don't know where the disconnect is, but there's definitely a disconnect between the association.
I think it's a people disconnect. I don't know if it's the association's fault. I mean, they're getting the emails out. They're getting the information out. It's on their website. They're promoting it every time you log into the MLS. I know every time I log into the MLS, I got to shut down pop-ups, because they're promoting something, and there's like Miami Association just had their installation event, a couple thousand people there. We got 56,000 agents down here, or more. And so, Miami Association is the largest association in the entire country. And there's only a couple thousand people that went to that event, and a couple thousand people is a lot of people. But when you really look at number for numbers, how many people we have and how many people actually showed up, it's a people issue, It
is. No, I agree.
It's definitely a people issue.
Our association does a phenomenal job, same way as getting out the information. There's emails, there's a constant opportunity. And of course, you can log into their thing. And every time you do, it'll flash what kind of events are going on and what kind of stuff that you can do. I think you're right. It's people. They're disconnected from it. But I personally get a lot out of the association, but I'm also putting a lot into it. I'm involved.
Into it. Yeah.
And I think
the more you put in, the more you get out.
Correct.
I mean, that's the same for anything, right? Like the more you put in, the more you get out, right? You put in more money in the lead flow system, you're going to get more leads. You put in more calls, you're going to get more connections. Like, it's the same thing over and over again. Now that we're on the people issue thing, because I want to pick your brain on this, and where do you think, because you're not a real estate agent, you are a lender. So you work with a lot of real estate agents. So you get to be kind of a third party that stepped out of the circle that gets to look in the circle, right? It's like a big snow globe, and you get to see inside and see all the movement and see the people and see the reactions and actions and so forth, and who's successful and who's not, and who's winning and who's not complaining and who is. And, you know, you get to see all that. What do you think the biggest disconnect between someone who is successful in this business and someone who is not is?
I think it's a combination of consistency and processes. I think it's a combination of those two things, and I'll elaborate a little bit. People who are successful have a process down for what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They understand their marketing plan. They have a plan and they follow it, and they're consistent with it. They're not all over the place, posting one social media post a month and wondering why you're getting no traction there, or sending out one postcard to a neighborhood. People that have a plan and they consistently follow it, regardless if they get an immediate satisfaction from it. They understand that they have to play the long game. Those are the people who are successful. We just did a panel up here with Women's Council of Realtors, and the 4 women that were on the panel, all successful, all said the same thing. Processes, they have plans in place, and they consistently implement and execute them. And those two things, I think, work. The realtors who are struggling don't have a plan, don't follow up on the plan, don't have a CRM, don't even understand how to utilize it. They don't have any kind of regular thing that they do. They're just trying to throw as much shit against the wall and hope something sticks. And yet when it sticks, they don't have a plan to follow up and continue to build on it. They just try throwing more shit against the wall. And so I feel like having a plan, and I'm not talking about, you don't have to have a 400-page in-depth marketing plan or business plan, but you have to have some sort of plan on how you're going to make 2024 your best year, how you're going to make 2025 your best year, how you're going to stick to what you have decided to do, and do the research before you decide it. Don't spend $1 billion on leads when you have no idea how to work the leads, or you have no back office to help you work the leads. It's insane.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, man, because I get people that come up to me and they're like, you know, listen, you know, I think, you know, I need to know how much you charge for coaching, because, man, I'm buying all these leads and they suck. And I'm like, I think you're on the right path asking for my coaching opportunity, right? Because if you know how to convert and you know how to have the conversation, it's a game changer, man. You know, it's a game changer. Look, I just put a post on social media. We did a 5-day challenge. I sent you the information on that. We did a 5-day challenge recently. And this is the simple results from one of the folks that did the 5-day challenge. And by the way, I know her very well. I don't want to say her name in case she doesn't want me to say her name. So I'm going to leave it at that, right? But we do 5 days. And in those 5 days, she had a VIP ticket. So she spent 2 hours with me instead of the 1 hour. So 2 hours each day. So 10 hours of coaching and instruction. That's it. Nothing else. 10 hours of coaching. Okay. And she said, here are my wins from the 5-day challenge. And by the way, let me tell you what we talked about during the 5-day challenge. We talked about consistency. We talked about time management. We talked about time value, right? And then we talked about the people, the conversion, the appointments, and the close and the sale, or the sale and the close, I should say, in that order. And we talked about the psychology in each stage and how to make it work for you, right? So she said, in the 5-day challenge, I've got 20 sphere of influence contacts made, 20 coffee dates already set, 12 coffee dates already had, specific to my Power 8, because I teach a Power 8 system, specifically to my Power 8 drip campaigns created, 3 listing appointments had, 3 upcoming listings, including a luxury listing at 1.65, 1 possible rental listing, 3 new pre-approved buyers, 2 new rental clients. I'm waking up an hour earlier every single day, and I love it, and I'm taking time for myself. In progress, I have to implement the gym. I'm working on that weekly right now, and I work my way back up. I want to send out monthly mailed reports to my gated community, and I'd like to hire a VA for cold calling expireds. 5 days of consistency, and she got that. Now, what happens if next week she wakes up and doesn't fucking do it anymore?
Correct. This is the thing. So this is what happens. It's the same thing when people go to somebody like a Tony Robbins, or they go to this event and they're all pumped up and, oh my God, and they do it for 2 or 3 days or a week, maybe even a month, let's give them. And then they get away from it. And then they wonder why the business was so good during that time and now it's fallen off. Well, it must be the market. It must be NAR. It must be, I don't know, blame it on anything. Instead of taking a little bit of self-evaluation and self-reflection and realize, if I had just done the shit that I was supposed to do and kept doing and I was successful at and seeing results, I'd be further ahead of the game. But we give up. We get complacent and lazy and unmotivated. And I don't know why that's it. It's the same way people that make their New Year's resolution and are going to work out at the gym. You know, the gyms are all popular for like January. It starts to trickle off almost immediately in February. And by March, it's all back to normal.
Listen, my gym didn't last till February. By January 15th, people had faded out. Like, I remember being there first week of January and I was like, man, I should take 2 weeks off. Because I was like, I was so frustrated, you know, and then all of a sudden by like the 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, like it was back to normal again. Now I just went to the gym today and it's like I get, you have full out conversations. Nobody's in your way. You just, you know, like it's insane. No one was there. Didn't even last.
They gave up.
And then they're expecting results. It's like, I'm going to go to the gym for 2 weeks. If I don't see myself significantly in better shape, then this is not working for me. So I'll go try a fad diet and see if that works.
It's the same like when people make calls. You make expired calls, for example, and you try it one night and you didn't get anything. And so you're like, oh, they suck. I can't do expired leads. No, that's not it. You have to change your script or adjust the time or just continue down the path because those work. Why do I know that? Because I know a lot of realtors who do the majority of their business from calling expireds and cold calling FSBOs and things like that. So it works. You just have to be consistent and you have to be dedicated to the process. And a lot of people just don't want it. It's our culture. We're immediate gratification people. We want it right now because most of the time we can get anything at our fingertips right now. And so when the business doesn't come immediately, it's got to be something wrong with everything else. And I always, when I coach people, I tell them, we've got to look at the common denominator. And I'm going to tell you what it is. It's you. So let's figure out how to make that common denominator work instead of you blaming.
That's great. Else. I tell, you know, my first meeting with folks, I like to understand where they are and what the problem is, you know? And so what I tell them is I go, hey, I'd like to know more about you, your business, and what's happening right now in your business. Here's the key, though. You can't use the word market. And so now it becomes really difficult to blame the market. Right. Because, you know, the first thing people say, well, you know, the market shifted. Yeah, it has. Did you shift? Right. And that's, you know, I don't know.
That's so good because you're right. Take that one thing away. Again, we're also a blame. It can't be us. We culturally, we blame everybody for everything as a whole. And so it's so easy to blame someone else or blame the market or blame the other agent or blame your brokerage or blame the lead quality or blame anything.
All of that.
Taking on some ownness and saying, gosh, maybe I'm the issue. Maybe my way of doing things is not the right way.
I'm going to tap in a different direction now because I know that you're a philanthropist. I know that you do walks and you raise money and all that crazy stuff. You know, it took me a long time. I'm not the most humble person. I'm not afraid to say that. And I think most high speed people are not, because they're running at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So they forget to say thank you and good job. And, you know, I love the world. And the attitude becomes, well, I'll contribute to it, but that's about as good as I can do because I need to focus on this, you know?
Yes.
But you get involved. You're very involved. And I appreciate that because, you know, for every one of like people like me, we need like 6 of you, you know, we need you out there. You know, it's funny. I did some volunteer work when I was in the Marine Corps, and I went to a buddy of mine. His name was Bartholomew Lumsey. Great guy, friends to this day. And I said to him, hey, I'm doing this thing on Saturday. You want to go with me? And he was like, well, what is it? And I go, it's volunteer. We're going to do some feeding the homeless or something. I can't remember what it was. And he said to me, he goes, well, how much does it pay? And I was like, nothing. It's volunteer work. He goes, yeah, I can't go. And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah, the problem with volunteer work is it doesn't pay enough. And I laughed at him and I walked away. But that just, you know, there are people like that in this world, and there are people like you in this world, and we need more of you. Right.
Well,
and so
thank you. I appreciate that. I think, but here's the thing. Don't negate. So I have a master's degree in healthcare admin with a focus on nonprofits. So I've been doing nonprofits for years and years and years, and very community advocate oriented. I tell people, most people don't have the problem you have. I think organizations love a combo. Can you cut a check? We'll take it. And I think that's a huge value. So what you're saying is, I just want to contribute. That's great. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. As a matter of fact, a lot of times that is going to save the day. What happens is there's not a lot of people who can contribute. And so I tell them, well, don't worry about your checkbook. Worry about your time. Your time has value, and you have resources. You have people you can plug in. When you find something that you are interested in doing good for, you have a resource. So I do a lot. Obviously, I contribute, but I do a lot because I have a large sphere of influence. I have a lot of people I know, a lot from the show. And so why not take that and find a cause like domestic violence awareness, which is the one I'm doing tomorrow, and bring everybody in. They don't have to contribute a ton of money, but them being there and being part of the awareness, and then their sphere of influence being touched because they're going to post it on social media. That is powerful for local organizations that depend on continued awareness with less money. And so your marketing, what you and I do all day long, which is coaching, marketing, mentor, we touch all of these people. All of those people have a need. All of those people have a desire, something that's important to them that they're passionate about in the community, whether it be veterans or domestic violence or pets or whatever it is. There's a cause that could use your help, and it doesn't have to be checkbook oriented.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. I know my one cause, or I have 2 causes that I can say I'm passionate about. What's your number one cause that you're most passionate about?
That is a hard, I think anything to do with kids. I'm on the board for Base Camp Children's Cancer Foundation. I'm a childhood abuse survivor, so that's why the domestic violence. So anything kid oriented, because the kids are impacted, and a lot of times we forget about them, that those kids, even the kids with cancer, grow up as adults. And so the trauma that they felt impacts all of us. It doesn't matter if you know them or don't know them. You know someone who was impacted by something in their childhood when it comes to those particular causes. And that impacts everything. It impacts job performance, mental health. It impacts our GDP. I mean, all of that stuff ties back to the individual human being. You were talking about people before. And so if there's a way in advance that I can advocate for children getting better services, children having the ability to get out of a bad situation, more research for kids, or more opportunities for kids who have cancer in their families, or whatever it might be. So anything that touches kids, I'm a huge proponent of.
That's awesome. Well, I guess I have 3 because I feel the same way as you do. My number one thing is veterans for obvious reasons. And I feel like veterans are used and abused. I don't think they're appreciated enough. I don't think that the value that they brought to this country is really appreciated. Like, you know, you get the occasional thank you for your service, and there might be a parade and a flag raising and things like that. But the VA is a very difficult place. They just don't have enough money. And so to go to a VA hospital for a lot of places, it's a nightmare. I'm blessed. I live in Miami. Our VA hospital is phenomenal. But there are other, and by the way, it's phenomenal because it's tied into Jackson Memorial that's owned by the University of Miami, right? So there's, you know what I mean? There's a system in place, Now, they might send all their students there to learn like before they let them into Jackson Memorial, but it's all right. It's all right though. Like we have a good system there. You can get an appointment. They're not super far out, etc. But in other states and other cities, it's really bad. They just don't have enough money to support the amount of veterans that they have in the area. And so I look at veteran healthcare. That's my thing. And most importantly, mental health. I think that veteran mental health is not paid enough attention to. Again, I'm lucky enough. We got great psychiatrists, great therapists, great all this stuff, but not everyone does. And also there's not enough education to tell veterans what's actually open and available for them, right? Agreed. And so there are veterans walking this planet right now that have no idea what stuff is available for them, or that they qualify for a specific disability for an injury they had while they were in, or the fact that if you get just 10% disability, you now have access to the VA, right? And just 10% disability will give you a discount on your taxes, on your property taxes, like those little things, there are other states that do it.
There's no common. I do a lot with vets. You made me pick one, which was kids, but you know how much I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like there's no common resource area. Now, I'm not talking about the VA, but all of the ancillary opportunities out there, all of the information out there, just the two things you mentioned about the discount on your property taxes and about being 10% disabled, those kinds of things. You can't just go, people will say, well, just go to the VA site. No, you can't just go to the VA site. What about the local needs? So we do a lot here in Central Florida with vets, and I like to vet out, so to speak, organizations that are providing those tons of gaps in services and resources that the VA does not provide. There's so much that veterans don't know. And as I have learned, being a patriot, not a veteran, that veterans are mistrusting because of the system. And so they've had a bad experience with VA. So they feel like everything that's going to be done is going to be that. And they'd rather just figure it out on their own than tapping into the local resources of the community.
So difficult. And what that does is it leaves them with their mental health issues, by the way. Right. There's an extremely large percentage of veterans that suffer from mental disabilities and PTSD and sleep apnea, which creates even more PTSD. Lack of sleep creates more issues. Body aches, pains, you name it, back pains, knee pains, ankle pains, neck, you can't you spend a decade or more running with an 80-pound pack on your back and boots, like that's going to create physical issues, right? You get shot at enough times, that's going to create mental issues, right? Like we need to have a better system in place for our veterans. And honestly, it pisses me off that we don't. Agreed. And I've been pushing our local kind of government. I'm to the point where I'm considering running for commissioner in my area. And one of the first things that I'd like to do is get all the local businesses, as many of them as possible, to do something so small as to offer a veteran discount and a senior discount. Like if we can get every local business, not only will it drive more business to the local businesses, the local mom and pop shops, but I would actually advertise them on the website for the county, and say, hey, these guys are the ones offering discounts. If you need sneakers, this is where you go. If you need, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that would not only drive the economy, but it would also make veterans and seniors feel like they're special, like they're appreciated for what they're doing, right?
Correct.
And then take that to the next level. Let's go housing, right? Veteran housing for veterans, housing for seniors, housing for low-income families. And it's funny, I live in Miami, like low income is 50 grand a year, right? Like, it just, we need to create low income, medium income, veteran housing and senior housing. And by the way, veteran housing, the way I see it, is to offer a community that also has a VA facility on site. Right.
That would
And
be
so
amazing.
can you imagine a gym, a VA facility, things like that? Yeah, there'll be an HOA and stuff like that. You got to maintain the community. And then imagine if there was like a community of veterans all living in the same place. Like that's where you would want to go for Independence Day, right? You know what I mean? Like that's where the best fireworks are going off in that park, you know? And also like that, not that it wouldn't be available to veterans. You know, I could already see like the mob outside. We want to buy, right? And we're not veterans, you know? But to create an enough of an attraction for veterans to make them want to buy in that community.
Yes.
And also to keep it somewhat affordable, like do some fun like that, you know?
I love that idea. I think this is the thing. I think that because after interviewing a lot of veterans, I think you all have this brotherhood, sisterhood. And when you transition out of the military, it's the big, crazy world that does not feel that way about anybody and doesn't. You have to try to figure where, like, well, this person would have died for me over there. And now I'm working for somebody who doesn't even barely know my name or give a crap about me. And so it's a very difficult thing. So there's a trust issue there. So if you have an organization or you have a commissioner that has served, I love this idea for you. I mean, I'll help support you. I think that would make such a huge difference because the vets are feeling very disconnected as a whole. Disconnected. They feel like they have been mistreated, or at least they haven't been treated with the respect that I think they deserve. And certainly for the sacrifices that they made. I have vets that will say, well, I wasn't in wartime. And my thing to them is, I don't care. It's a sacrifice. Your family sacrificed, you sacrificed. You should get the benefits that we should be offering to our veterans. And so I feel the same way, very strongly about that. The suicide number is just so it's unfathomable. It used to be 22 a day, and now I believe it's gone up. 22 vets a day commit suicide.
Yeah,
which is terrible.
But why do you think it's going up? Because the wars haven't gotten worse. It's going up. Lack of advocacy, lack of resources. Yeah. Right. That's what it is. That's all it is. Or even worse, enough resources, the lack of education to let them know that the resources exist.
Correct. And I think a lot of
I feel bad for these. Yeah, I feel bad for these people at the VA hospital because they're doing their best.
Well, they're doing they can. You know, the thing that I hear from a lot of vets is that they people who have PTSD, the ones who are really dealing with some of the issues, that over medication is a challenge as well too. So then they get tired of being over medicated and they get off the meds. And so that's not a win-win for anybody either, but because they're not being heard and the resources aren't there to not be 100% dependent on meds, there's a struggle. And so they don't know where to go and they don't know how to go.
That's like the biggest joke that we have is that the VA hospital is the #1 drug dealer on the planet.
I'm not going to say I disagree after the stories I've heard, but veterans, we need to do a better job as a community, all of our communities. And if the government can't do it or won't do it or is incapable of, then we need to take it upon ourselves as local community people and really step up
to the plate. I remember there was a time where, you know, I'm going to be 48 years old this year. And
you're a baby.
Yeah, I am. But
we were talking about years earlier. I'm already there, David.
I'm going to be 48 this year. And I remember growing up and I didn't know anything about the military. I grew up in the Bronx in New York. You know, we didn't know anybody military related. All I knew about the military was literally like G.I. Joe, right? Like that was what I understood about the military. And or any TV show or anything like that was on the tube at the time. And still, even with just that little bit of information, children wanted to grow up to be fighters and they wanted to protect our country and raise our flag and be proud of it, you know? Yes. And I grew up in a Puerto Rican household. So we were taught to not only be proud Americans, but be proud Puerto Ricans, right? There's no one more prouder than Puerto Rican, you know? And so we were flying flags, Puerto Rican flags, American flags, you know, we were excited about it all. And I've seen that excitement just kind of fade away with time. The older I get, the less people care about our country, the less people that care about our military. I think the military has shrunk into a size that it hasn't been in a very long time. It's very hard to recruit people. People are going to the they're not going to the military anymore because they want to do something for our country. They're going to the military because they need a paycheck or a free education. They need the benefits is what they need. They're not doing it for pride anymore. And there might, and this is no pun to anybody who actually did it for pride. Like we're not dogging you. Because I remember when I joined the military and I would ask people sometimes like, hey, so why'd you join? I know why I joined. If I didn't join the Marine Corps, I was going to be in jail. So, I had this like fortitude, this like grown up decision that I made that I said, I need big change. It can't be small change. What should I do? And I met these two Marines and I go, that's the answer.
I love it.
Right. And I said, and it had to be, I went and interviewed the Air Force, the Army, the Navy. And I was like, nope, it has to be the hardest one because I need real big change, And so that was important for me. Change the trajectory of my entire life, And so I know why I joined. And once I was in, all that stuff that we were taught growing up, the GI Joe, the American flag, be proud to be American, all of that just magnified by 1,000,000%, And so, you come to my house, I have a big old American flag flying outside. I'm actually, by this summer, we're installing a 10-foot pole in front of the house,
Nice.
So we have a flagpole to be able to fly the American flag and the Marine Corps flag. And the reason I want it to be so tall is because I want you to be able to see it from the street from over houses.
Love it.
Right. So if you're driving anywhere around my neighborhood, I want you to know I'm here. The front of my house is going to look like a daggone car dealership, And so,
that's awesome. No, that's I like the patriotic. I like that you've lived it. So you should do it. And I do want more people to understand how amazing that is, what you did and what the other servicemen and women have done over the years. It's I hate when I hear discussions about, well, just like you said, right? So, well, they're just a whole bunch of people that don't do anything. I mean, I've heard so much crap from people about vets.
Yeah.
It makes me so angry because I understand having interviewed with so many of them and knowing people like you personally. There is a sacrifice and it's a big freaking deal that you served our country, and you should be rewarded and honored for that.
Well, man, Ted, I appreciate everything you do for the community. I appreciate your advocacy. I appreciate your attention to more than just doing loans for people. I strive to be a better person, and I like knowing people like you in my life because it encourages me to do more, and I know you said there's nothing wrong with cutting a check, but at the same time, maybe there needs to be a part of me that is out with the community more often, I just see it differently in my head. I see it differently. I see running for commissioner as a way to help my community rather than, do whatever. And it's not that I haven't done it before. We've woken up early. We've done walks. Those are my big things. My big things are veterans, cancer, real big thing, and kids. Those are my big things. Those are the things that have affected my life, And so I think everyone should find passion in something that's affected their lives and has maybe crippled them a little bit, but made them a better person over time, and help other people get past the crippling part and make them a better person. I think that's our job on this planet. Our job on this planet is to communicate, to be a tribe, and to help each other.
Agreed. I couldn't have said it better. 100%. I think it's so important to be not so focused on self all the time, and understand that there is a bigger job we're all supposed to be doing, which you kind of alluded to. And I feel like people who don't understand that miss out. You miss out, because I do this because I'm passionate about it, but I can tell you 100% that it is so rewarding, soulfully, spiritually, heart-filled, just really life-changing when you are giving back in any way, shape, or form, and being proactive for people in the community, for a project or a cause that's dear to your heart.
Well, Ted, thank you for doing the show with me. I am beyond grateful for you. So thank you for being in our lives. Thank you for being the person that you are. I love our conversations. They're always great conversations, which is amazing. I need to get up to Orlando soon. We definitely need to go grab some coffee,
Yes.
or a scotch. I'm good with that too.
Me too. I appreciate you so much. I love the platform that you do. I love that you pour into people. I love, because that's a resource. Remember, you're mentoring people, you're coaching, but you're really pouring into people. People don't like that word coach or even mentor anymore, but you're pouring into their souls. You know that there's better in them. And I love that you do that. And I love that you want to do more for the community. And I think everybody has an opportunity to do that. In your case, a commissioner has more power and a bigger spread of that kind of power and impact. And so I love that for you. And I appreciate what you do too, brother.
Maybe I say this out loud. So it's been a very serious consideration in my household. And we were approached September, October of last year, around that time frame, and I was asked to run. And we did the work, like researching it and talking to other commissioners that I know in the community. And, my campaign manager or my potential campaign manager has put me in front of people. I'm good friends, or not good friends, but great acquaintances, let's put it that way, with the mayor of Miami Lakes, who's now running for mayor of Miami. And I sat with him for a while. He owns a great cafe up in Miami Lakes called Mayor's Cafe. And I sat with him on a Sunday morning, like after the rush was over, and we sat and had some breakfast. It's everyone told me, Dave, you need to do this, right? Like, you're a veteran, you care about the community, you're an entrepreneur, got all this other stuff. And I think my biggest fear is always that it would take away from this, what we're doing here, which I also feel is an impact. Like, I want to impact the world, right? Like, my goal in life is to impact the lives and businesses of over 1 million people. And I feel like if I take the commissioner job, it takes away from this platform. And now I get to impact the lives of, tens of thousands, but not the millions, not out, And so it's something that we've been seriously considering, but yeah, might happen, might not. I don't know. You'll know more in the next 60 days.
I would love to help. Anything you need. I appreciate you. I really do. And I'm thankful to be on the show. I love that. I love that we can always have a great conversation. I think it's good for people to talk about these things and have real conversations instead of crazy scripted, ask questions. So you do the same as me. I can't function if I am worried about what the next question is. I want everything to flow. And that's what you do. And that's also what you do when you're transparent, which you are, and authentic. So I appreciate you too.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you so much. For everyone that's listening today, if you've made it this far, it means that you've liked the damn show. So hit the subscribe button. All right. No matter what platform you're watching or listening on, hit the subscribe button. The information that we're bringing to you, you spent some time with Ted today. You've got some great energy. You've got some great input. You've got some great stuff happening. Hopefully you take that, you bring it into your life and business, and you do something with it. And we're going to continue to bring people on the podcast that are government related, that are, that have opinions on government, that have opinions on religion, that have opinions on the border, that have opinions on politics. Like, I want to bring all this stuff to the table, and I thank God every day for an opportunity to have a platform that allows me to do that, and enough followers in the world to impact. So thank you for watching. Once again, this is the Freedom Achiever Podcast. You can tune into my other podcasts that we push out weekly, known as the David Adam Kurz Show. You guys take care. Thanks for watching.